Now we know that in Rome, at first we had Roman architecture, which was followed by early Christian architecture, and after early Christian came Byzantine architecture. Now, why do we call it Byzantine? This architecture is based on the name of a place which was nearby Rome. So, if we look at the plan of Rome, if we say Rome is somewhere here, you have Italy here, France on the other side, then there was one island, a separate place nearby Rome, which was called Byzantine. It was a vacant island at the time of Constantine because Constantine was the one who came in early Christian architecture, and he was the one who became the pioneer of Byzantine architecture. And this happened because what happened in Rome was, now we know the story about early Christian architecture in Rome. The Christianity was made legal. Constantine himself and his own mother converted themselves into Christians so that Christians are given importance inside Rome. Since in early ages, if anyone was found practicing Christianity inside Rome, they were killed. They were not allowed to practice Christianity inside Rome. They were more focused on, uh, they were more focused about kings and queens on these areas. So, what happened in later stages when Rome started to build up slowly and slowly, Christianity came. Constantine gifted this island named Byzantine to all the Christians, and people could design their own kind of buildings. Then they could uh, practice their religion inside this area. So he in all, Constantine gifted Byzantine, which was an island, to the people of Rome who were practicing Christianity in Rome. So this kind of became a gift to everyone from Constantine. So the architecture which was being practiced inside your Byzantine area, and what happened now, everything that they installed or that they constructed in Rome was under the influence of early Roman architecture. So when they came in Byzantine, they did not have much of option, but they had this opportunity to create their buildings of their own. They could make their own churches, they could make their own basilicas, and any other kind of building typology could be introduced by them in Byzantine. So there's a story about Byzantine also. Byzantine was called Byzantine at the time Christian people moved from Rome to Byzantine. People were so happy with Constantine that they named this Byzantine to Constantinople. They renamed people of Byzantine, they renamed Byzantine as Constantinople. But this place has a huge history. In the later stages, Constantinople was taken up by Ottoman Turks. These were Turkish people and they were Islamic. So Ottoman Turks, they attacked Constantinople and they renamed Constantinople as Istanbul. So the current Istanbul that we see in Turkey today was early Constantinople, which was called as Byzantine in its early phases. So that means Istanbul, Turkey is Byzantine. So we don't have uh, dedicated architectural techniques for this because everything was adopted from Romans in Byzantine architecture. Since the churches were modification of old basilicas that they had, and the spaces that they used to use were the same. That's why the new churches which were built up, they were having almost the same architecture as that of Roman churches. We'll discuss a very few things regarding Byzantine architecture. The first thing obviously is the geography, then we'll study about geology and the other things. The bases are these only. Byzantine was also known as New Rome. When people shifted to their place, they started calling it New Rome, because most of the buildings which were built, they were almost the replica of Roman buildings. And when Byzantine was gifted to those people, the capital from Rome shifted to Byzantine. This was also called as Byzantium. So from Rome, when Byzantine was gifted to the people, from Rome the capital was shifted to Byzantium, and later on it was renamed to Constantinople. So, it was only Constantine who actually laid the basis of Byzantine and early Christian architecture. After Constantine, a very weak line of successors came, and they didn't do much. They were very weak, they were not good at wars. So that was the one of the reasons why Constantinople or Byzantium or New Rome was attacked by Ottoman Turks, and the whole city was changed into an Islamic city, and it was renamed as Istanbul. Few of the features that we studied in early Christian architecture are adopted here, and those features are: the first one was pendentives. So pendentives were first features which were adopted. They are basically the triangular elements that are formed when we are placing a dome over a rectangular or a squarish block. So these triangular elements that are produced on the adjoining place of a cube and a dome, that part is called cube or cuboid or a dome. That part is called pendentive. The second thing was the plan, and they generally had central planning structure. And the third thing was lighting and decoration. Like in Romans, we had good stained glass windows, they had great windows, they had tracery, bar tracery, they had many floral and geometrical patterns carved out on the windows. So, these features of decoration and lighting were adopted from the Roman architecture. Now, talking about the geography of the place, Byzantium, since it is an island, but it is covered with sea from three sides. Let's start with the geography. It is situated between two seas. If this is Byzantium, on one side we have Black Sea, and on the other we have Mediterranean Sea. Mediterranean Sea is the one which ends up in Egypt. So it was linked to other cities or other countries through sea only, and the main area was Europe. It was connected to Europe through these seas, and it was used as a natural harbor also. The way we have port cities is होती है ना, they are at the end of a city, you have big ocean around it, and you use that city for shipping purposes, for transporting things. So since the sea was naturally available in this area, this was also called as natural harbor. Byzantium ka corner was also called as natural harbor, since it was naturally surrounded by sea, and trade and commerce could be flourished, it could be used uh, on a natural basis. Transportation route was not supposed to be built up or produced, it was naturally available. And the other areas it later on spread were obviously Rome, which was nearby, Greece, again nearby, Russia, and Africa. So these were the places in which trade and commerce started from the uh, Byzantium Empire, and they later on spread out their whole culture and raw materials and all the vegetables and food that they grew. So import and export started between these cities. The next part is the geology. This is Rome. This place here is Rome, and you have Byzantine area somewhere here. So this whole place that you can see in the red, this is your Byzantine Empire, where the whole Christian community built up. So this whole place is your Byzantine, and the river that you can see here, this is the Mediterranean Sea, and this is the Black Sea. So this is considered kind of an island which is surrounded by water from three sides. एक side से तो वही है land ही. So you can see it is very nearby, but then it is a whole new empire, and it was later on called as Istanbul. Coming to the geology, or we can say the building materials of Byzantine architecture. So the locally available material here was lime concrete. And though the use of lime concrete started in Roman, but it continued in Byzantine Empire because lime was easily available in this area. So they also manufactured many bricks, clay bricks, mud bricks, and the last thing was marble. Now, bricks was used mostly for construction of homes, public buildings. We'll also study that in Byzantine Empire, more focus was done on public buildings. There was one king who came after Constantine. He was called Justinian. He was also called the second Constantine, and he was also called the builder who never sleeps. He was one of the kings who did not focus on religious buildings much, because in early ages we could see most of the buildings that people used to build in big scale, they were either churches or temples. So all religious buildings were built. But when Justinian came, he focused more on serving the public. That's why he focused on making public buildings, which included schools, admin blocks. Then he also built the transportation system by making railway tracks and railway and transport system. So he also focused on academics in this area, and he even promoted many artists and craftsmen at this time. Art and culture was majorly promoted in this era because of Justinian, because he focused more on academics, arts, literature, and public well-being. So the major materials were lime, concrete, brick, and marble. And the marble was one of the materials which was not readily available, but it was imported from Greece. It was not readily available there. Greece में marble बहुत ही abundance में है. जैसे we learned that in Greek architecture, the city of Athens was had abundance of marbles. So it was imported from Greece itself, and it was mostly used in ornamentation of public and religious buildings. Okay, so you can see they have mud bricks here. This is used for constructing all the buildings and all. Then you have lime stucco. Stucco was used for finishing. The interior details, or the way we put chuna in our buildings. In the same way, for finishing the interior of buildings, lime stucco was used, and marble was majorly used for sculptures, which is part of our ornamentation. Even marble stucco was used, but this was used only in few of the buildings which were of more importance, and this was again used for finishing. The finishing with lime stucco is not that bright. The finishing which is done with marble stucco, it gives you a uh, look like of a mirror. So here you can see bricks are used, stone is used. So So these were the building materials used in Byzantine architecture. The next aspect is the climatic conditions. Climate of Byzantium. Now, the climate was mostly hot, and they had flat roofs with less number of windows. Yeah. So here you can see that they are having almost the flat roof in some of the areas, but the main part of the building is adorned by a beautiful dome. And in the dome, you can see they have these arcades. Multiple arches are being used. So dome was their feature and arcading was their feature. So domes and arcades are the ones which were not taken up by any other architecture but introduced by their own. So here you can see they have very less number of windows, and you can see that they have false windows installed as well, so that must not disturb the elevational feature. It should look like that they have a window, but in actual the functional windows are only these ones, but the other ones are the fake ones which are just used for making the facade symmetrical in nature. And then you can see that they have dome installed over the building. So here you can see that the lower portion of the building is on the separate area and the upper portion is here. So this whole place will act like one insulation dome, or you can say hemisphere, a hemisphere which is carrying your hot air, and this will be having your cold air. So in this way the dome will also help in maintaining the balance between the temperatures of your interiors and the exteriors. So we have flat roofs, small openings, sheltered arcades, and domes. The next feature is the religious and social conditions. So we already know about the religion. Constantine signed the Edict of Milan. You know about this, right? When Constantine made Christianity legal in Rome, he signed one contract which was at that time called as edict. It is kind of an agreement signed between the authorities of Rome and the main king, according to which Christianity was made legal. So this was followed in Byzantine culture. Most of the people were Christians there, and Christianity came at its power in Byzantine architecture. And hence many churches were made, and experimentation was done on the planning of churches. Since these people wanted to have some architectural features in the plan of a church of their own, and they didn't want to copy the plan of a typical Roman basilica and the church, so they started experimenting and they came up with different plans. We'll also study the modified plans that they had. So they had a complete chart of evolution in which they started with a simple circular dome, and then they installed some of the areas on some size, then they came with a squarish plan. So we will see a drastic change in different kinds of churches that they had. So Constantine was the one who started and then about the social conditions, the when Constantine died, Justinian came, and like I said, he was called the emperor who never slept, who never sleeps, because he was a builder. He constructed many many buildings which were in favor of the public, and he also focused on transportation and all. Now all the construction of these major buildings, they require finance. So for building all these buildings, for the construction of these huge palaces, for the huge administrative buildings, yes, they also had palaces. So for building all these buildings, he had to had a proper economy. But since this empire was just starting to build up, what happened was there was lack of money in the administration. So what Justinian did, he started imposing taxes on people, and that was the first time when taxes were introduced. For getting some funds inside the administration, he had to come up with a scheme. So Justinian came up with the scheme of taxes. He started imposing taxes on people, and the money they earned, they had to give some percentage of it to the government, so that he could use that all money in the buildings that he used to build. He came up with many good proposals. He helped the public also, but slowly and slowly the amount of tax started increasing, and the people were not happy with it, so they opposed Justinian. They started hating him because he was taking out a lot of money from their pockets. So the people also started having riots in the place. Have you heard about Hagia Sophia? This mosque was commissioned 2 to 3 times by Justinian, and in these riots, it was destroyed 2 to 3 times as well. People burnt up this place because they were not happy with Justinian. They were not happy with him imposing taxes on them, huge taxes on them. So he came up with many buildings, many proposals, but then his resources of income were not good. Even there was one more building typology, that was amusement parks. But then he was opposed by people. Weak line of successors came, and that was the time when Turkish people, they attacked Byzantium, and they converted this whole Christian city into one Islamic city. There's one thing that you need to study that can come in your exam is the contribution of Justinian. First was the public buildings, and the public buildings included schools, hospitals, then transportation system, which included railway tracks. Then there were other leisure areas, which included theaters, palaces, and public baths. And one more major contribution of Justinian was uh, promoting local artists and craftsmen. Like I already said, he focused on improving the art and literature of the Byzantine Empire. And this would also help in creating a good history of Christianity as a religion and Christianity as an empire itself. That's why he focused on art and literature, so that people could come up with more of manuscripts, more of written texts, and many other things which can have a huge impact on the generations coming after this empire. For keeping it alive through generations and generations, art and literature is required so as to document the birth, the development, and the evolution of a particular religion. That's why art and architecture were promoted in these areas. And after Justinian, it was just the fall of whole Byzantine Empire, and this empire was taken up by Ottoman Turks. Ottoman Turks. And Byzantium, which was being called as Constantinople, it was changed to Istanbul by the Turkish people. And many churches which were already constructed in this area, they were converted into mosques. We'll study this also, how the spaces of churches were converted into mosque, and the major example is Hagia Sophia itself. Of the domes also, they had the domes that they introduced. There were several different types of domes also. The first one was the simple dome. Later on came the compound dome. Yes, this this first type is your simple dome. This is called compound dome. Polyhedral dome is type of your compound dome. Hemispherical dome is type of your simple dome. Third type was onion dome. And there was one more type, which this was called melon shaped dome. So these were different types of domes which were introduced in your Byzantine architecture. And materials we have already studied, they had stone, brick, limestone, and marble. Since dome was the major feature which was discovered or which was innovated in this era. At last, we'll discuss about the major architectural features of a typical plan of a Byzantine church. The very first thing is the plan. Now, the plan of a Byzantine church, it was more complex than the churches that we see earlier, that we saw earlier. The building started increasing in its geometrical complexity. And by this we mean the churches earlier, they were very simple in nature. For example, if we see the buildings in Rome, one of the examples is Pantheon. Pantheon was a temple and it looked very simple, and it was in a shape something like this, and it was having recessed arches in between. So Pantheon was very simple, something like this, columns in the front, in the interior portions also. And the churches that came in Byzantine architecture, they started getting complex. And by complex, we mean in stage one, in this circle they added one rectangle and then one semicircle. So, and there was octagonal shape inside this circle as well. So the church came up in a shape something like this and this, which was in a shape of a igloo, and they had some entryways from here and the colonnades on these sides, and the internal portion was completely covered by huge piers. Then in stage number 3, the plan changed from a circle to one polygon. So the internal plan of church started becoming like this, and the entrance was from here. The entrance was again adorned by octagonal spaces, and the back portion was adorned by different other geometrical spaces. The interior was also very complex. So one octagon was added, different shapes were added in the entry as well as the back side. So they made this whole concept of church very complex. They are adding some space here, some here, entry. They have modified the entry, but it was not aesthetically pleasing. Then they came up with one more plan in which they changed this octagonal shape to a squarish one. So now the church that they were having this square shape. Now the entry became something like this, and inside this square again they had one octagon, something like this. Now, if you think these spaces are simpler, no, they are not. Inside this space, again, they have other geometrical patterns. The rooms are in these patterns which are not functional because they are having acute angles inside it. But then they had to experiment. That's why they came up with some solutions like this. See, they are having piers and pillars over here. So this was the last stage in which the church was built. You won't find a typical basic or a default plan of a church that in a Byzantine architecture. Every church had a different plan from the other one. So the most followed one was the octagonal shape, which we could see in the stage number 3. Basically they had the circular interior, and it was from the outer axis it was octagonal in shape. The entry was like this itself, and the entryway was adorned by different patterns. The back portion was adorned by this. So octagon plus these other shapes, this was the actual plan. We won't say actual, but this was the plan which was followed the most in Byzantine architecture, which was one octagon shape surmounted by several other different shapes which were very complex in nature. So this became your entry. The entry was from here. These are your radiating shivets. This is your internal portion, which is again having different niches inside it. Then you have other rooms for library. You have staircases installed in spiral staircases installed in the outer section. So very complex kind of a planning was seen in Byzantine architecture. And in the elevational feature, this this was almost the same. Only the roof, which was triangular in the churches, it was changed by a domical roof. They had dome slanting roofs on the bottom. Yeah, the church was having 2 to 3 floors. Typical elevation was something like this, adorned by dome, huge in scale, and arched windows and doors, and less number of doors. So the planning is very simple, it's very complex, different from the Roman churches. So this was all about your basic Byzantine Empire and the type of architectural features they followed, the building typologies they made, the climate of the place, and the geology of the place. Is everything clear?